and 7. Both these players 10 and 3. They're going to have to go win-win to make top 8, like you mentioned. And this is the first step to doing that. I believe they call this the penultimate round. Is that correct?
Yes, second to last.
So what's the one after it called? Is it just the ultimate
last round?
Oh. It doesn't have a cool name like penultimate?
It might, but...
All right. You're the words guy. I figured you might know.
The words guy.
That's a technical term. Yeah. Kazu is going to keep. Inkmoth Nexus for Kazu. For Brad, it's a untapped Hallowed Fountain, which means he could play Path Exile or cycle Hieroglyphic Illumination. I like Hieroglyphic Illumination.
It's performed well, I think.
I think it's good, man. Here's a Blighted Agent. Kazu's going to go get a breeding pool. And Brad will cycle. And, of course, in this matchup, as Brad falls down to 18 because of the untapped dual land, obviously his life total, do whatever he wants with it.
Pretty much a freebie.
Yeah. All right, we're going back to Brad. He is going to sacrifice a fetch. Wouldn't be a bad time for a Helix or a Lightning Bolt. Don't want to do it while engaging in combat.
Yeah, coast is pretty clear here with Negri tapped out.
And there's the Helix. Goodbye, Blighted Agent. The trick here for Brad is just to keep these creatures off the battlefield and don't engage with them in combat. He's got a ton of removal, bolts and helixes and electrolyzes, and he's going to take 5 infect right now. But that's the trick, is he's got so much removal. But Kazu's going to have to do his best to pick his spots.
Yeah, try to not play into Brad's open mana. Try to overwhelm them all in one turn.
There's a Field of Ruin there from Nelson. This is tough, too, because I wouldn't consider Field of Ruin to be the best way to stop an Inkmoth Nexus.
But it's one of those cards where, Nelson can take a hit for 1 here. Negri, it's hard to play over the top of the Field of Ruin. And then end of turn, you can try to wear one of them down.
But just like we've seen over the years, playing against Infect in combat is a bad idea.
For sure. I mean, if Negri has another green-producing land here, and he puts the Nexus in combat and has a Vines, I mean, that's just it if you went for Field of Ruin.
Nelson looks like he's going to activate Field of Ruin now because Kazu has no interest in attacking. Curious about what his hand is up to. But we know it's nothing that makes him want to take an action, as he simply passed the turn back over to Nelson. Nelson will draw a card. 5 infect here for Brad. But he made it out of that turn alive. Island and simply pass the turn back. Nelson does have the necessary blue mana for Cryptic Command, though that's a pretty expensive way to go about getting things done against Infect.
Very dangerous to lean too heavily on tapping out for one thing. It's pretty easy for Infect to play over the top of that in most spots. Like to set up a position where you have multiple pieces of interaction inside of combat, or you sort of pick apart outside of combat.
Kazu just going to pass the turn back again. So it looks like Brad's going to take this opportunity to maybe play a Snapcaster Mage. And he will. So it'll be Snapless Helix. Kazu down to 14, Brad back up to 21. Not that the normal life total matters in this matchup because of infect damage. Sacred Foundry enters the battlefield untapped. Nelson will fall down to 19. Kazu going to take 2. Looks like he'll fall down to 12 and draw a card, so we head back Negri's way. He's just passed the past couple of turns after drawing. Feels like he's looking for another land. And the longer we sit here, the worse it appears to get for Kazu Negri.
Yeah, the more that Brad's sort of able to make his land drops uncontested here, the easier it is for him to set up a spot where he has multiple pieces of interaction when Negri decides to pull the trigger.
And this is why you love a card like Hieroglyphic Illumination. It cycles in the early stages of the game, or he can pay 2 to draw 2. Excuse me, pay 4 to draw 2, while still bluffing a card like Cryptic Command. So Nelson going to continue to gas up his hand, get into a Snapcaster Mage, knock Kazu down to 10. Sulfur Falls enters the battlefield. We head back over to Kazu. He'll draw a card here. Again, our Infect player has done nothing for the past 3 turns now, after getting in that hit for 5. All right, there's a Blighted Agent, which I cannot imagine is going to live against the Bolt Path
Electrolyze.
Helix Electrolyze Snapcaster Mage deck. I think Brad is trying to figure out exactly which removal spell he wants to use to kill this thing. Electrolyze is about as good as any. And Brad is going to play the Electrolyze, of which, again, he is playing 3 copies of here this weekend. So many people have identified Electrolyze to be a pretty good card in this metagame. Mutagenic Growth is Kazu's attempt to keep this alive, as he falls down to 8. And Kazu's life total does matter.
Definitely. I mean, even if he wins this battle over the Blade Agent, he's at risk of getting burned out. Brad's been sitting here just kind of accumulating cards for several turns.
So our follow-up, maybe another Electrolyze here, folks. It'll be a Logic Knot looking to counter the Mutagenic Growth. So down goes the Blighted Agent. And we're heading back over to Brad Nelson, who's going to play a Flooded Strand and get in it for 2. Kazu Negri is going to fall down to 5. Does Brad have the necessary burn to get the job done? It doesn't look like it's the case. So now we go to Kazu. Now from Kazu, my thought is I can't go to 3. I go to 3, I'm probably dead.
I don't know if Negri could beat a Bolt from here one way or the other.
There's Noble Hierarch. Brad's going to search up a land there in Hollowed Fountain. And it's Snap. And it's Electrolyze. And we're done. Brad Nelson going to win game number 1 here against Kazu Negri. Jeskai Control up a game over Infect. As Brad Jeskai player Nelson, one step closer to another top 8 here on the SCG Tour. We go to Kazu Negri first. Shaper Sanctuary has 3 copies of. Got to like that here. Same thing could be probably said about Spell Pierce. 2 Dissenter's Deliverance, 2 Nature's Claim, 2 Relic of Progenitus, a Grafdigger's Cage, a Wild Defiance, which is probably good, and a Spellskite.
Yeah, so he's got a variety of sort of anti-bolt, anti-removal spell cards to bring in here with Spellskite, Wild Defiance, Shaper Sanctuary, and beyond that, you could also be interested in Spell Pierce here too, and even the the Relic of Progenitus. From Negri's side, he's got the 3 main deck copies of Distortion Strike, a bit of a metagame call here, and 2 main deck copies of Dismember. Those are 5 easy cuts, so Negri has a lot of really good cards to sideboard in here and some dead weight in the main deck to get rid of.
We're rolling to Brad's side now. 2 Celestial Purge, 2 Dispel, 2 Ceremonious Rejection, 2 Surgical Extraction, 2 Vendilion Click, and 5 one-ofs. That we've seen a couple times here from Nelson. Baneslayer, Angel Lyra, Dawnbringer. Negate, Abrade, Engineered Explosives.
So the top of the list to me are the 2 copies of Dispel. I'm also a fan of Vendilion Click in this matchup, Abrade, Engineered Explosives, and Negate.
A lot of good options.
A lot of good options.
Well, it's a tough matchup here for Kazu Negri, but we have seen Infect players win this one before. See if Negri can overcome Nelson in that second game and get ready for a third one potentially. But while they do get ready for the second game, do you want to talk about the Simian Tour Guide? An airplane-destroying monkey is the Simian Tour Guide. Maybe it's a friendly monkey that is guiding the airplane.
Right. Hard to say for sure.
As they're flying, these people are flying around. Maybe the Simian Tour Guide. What do they call those people at airports? The runway people who have like the they hold those orange sticks, tell people where to go.
Oh, sure.
I call those.
I don't have the word.
No, there's something for those fine people that make our flights go. Maybe that's what the Simian Tour Guide's doing.
Perhaps
Directing traffic. Air traffic controller. That sound right?
No,
That's
I think
what Rob does.
That's the person in the
tower.
Yeah.
Yeah. Either way, Simian Tour Guide. You know what I've decided? Not destroying airplanes, helping airplanes along, and they can help out your pre-release. It's called a transition and a smooth one.
So smooth, buttery smooth.
January 19th and the 20th. Member of our StarCityGames.com creature collection. Go to StarCityGames.com/pre-release for more information. Register today and bring the Simian Tour Guide to your Ravnica Allegiance pre-release weekend, folks. It's going to be awesome. Brad Nelson looking to add another top 8 to the resume. Currently up a game. 3 wins for Brad here on the SCG Tour as far as opens are concerned. Number 4 could be this weekend. He's had a lot of success in Baltimore with 2 open wins in this convention center. 3 invitational top 8s with 1 Envy win in Indianapolis a handful of years ago. And, of course, he won the inaugural SCG Players Championship. When this guy dedicates himself to winning a tournament, he does really well and oftentimes wins that tournament.
Yeah, multi-format constructed in a narrow field where you are aware of your opponent's tendencies. Brad's going to be a really tough out.
The thing that I like most about Brad's game, of which there are many things that I like, he realizes that you play best 2 out of 3, which is his sideboards are always ready to roll.
Yep.
We've been informed that people at the airport are known as the grounds crew.
Ground
crew. No, not grounds like a baseball.
Right.
Ground crew. Okay. Well, I just want to know, like, is it just stick holder person? Is that the title?
Unlikely.
No? I just want to know. Looks like Kazu going to go down to 6. Not a great spot for him. Kazu with an open win 2 years ago. Got it done with Storm when Storm was putting itself on the map with Gifts Ungiven. 22-year-old with 4 open top 8s. Got that win, as I mentioned. And the best player slide here on the SCG Tour with the need to own a Dunkin' Donuts. We had that for breakfast. Delightful. Best handwriting. Runs a 4.5 40-yard dash. Best calves. Great hair. It's just winning.
Yeah, it's top to bottom
It's just wins.
Just W's up and down the board.
Might lose this match, but winning at life
Right.
is Kazu Negri. What'd you get from Dunkin' this morning? Looks like you got a bagel of some sort.
I did.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Was it let me guess. It was probably an everything bagel.
It was not.
No? Bacon? Bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich from Dunkin'. Oh, onion bagel.
You got it.
Yeah, there he is. There he is. The world's worst bagel.
Yep. Can't risk it tasting good.
The world's easily worst bagel, the onion bagel. Not only does it taste bad, makes your breath smell bad.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, you just, you sort of temper it with some coffee.
Which is similarly disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
I was just asked, do I like any of Patrick's food choices? I do. I think. We are opposites in this regard. Quite a bit.
Yeah. You have the...
Well, everyone likes Gus's fried chicken.
Yeah.
I will say this. We are in lockstep on pizza.
Yeah.
Pepperoni. Nothing else necessary.
Yeah. And that's if you're feeling like you got to dress it up a little bit.
That's
I just
right.
prefer the cheese.
Well, I think cheese pizza is too boring. But pepperoni, I can order a pepperoni pizza safely knowing that he will eat 2/3 of it.
Yep. Well, fundamentally, that's where the difference is here, that, you have the palate of a 9-year-old.
Well, I don't think insulting me is necessary.
And I have one of a 60-year-old.
I like my sweets. Blighted Agent.
Just really into treats.
Yeah. I like my treats. Is that so bad? Now, this is an ideal start here for Kazu. He's got an Inkmoth, a Blighted, a mana up to defend himself, and a Noble Hierarch provide a little bit of everything. Mana, acceleration.
A nice opening.
Yeah, this is where you want to be if you're an Infect player against a Jeskai player. Brad going to play a Sulfur Falls past the turn back. I think my palette is quite lovely. Thank you.
Okay.
Verdant Catacombs. Attack step. Here comes Blight Agent. Exalted Trigger. Is there more to come? Brad is, I'm not going to engage with you in combat.
Don't engage in combat.
Yeah.
Just wait until the end of the turn or your own turn to be doing anything.
If I engage, that's how I get blown out. I'm not going to do that. Let's see what the follow-up is. Well, Electrolyze will be awkward if that shows up.
Remember that Negri, though, has several sideboard copies of Spell Pierce.
Very true.
3, in fact. Quite a few. So you might be interested in trying to tease Brad into electrolyzing here and then maybe following up with a kill.
We're going to go over to Brad now. He'll draw a card. Nothing at the end of his second turn either for Brad Nelson. So it's now his third turn. We'll see if he has a third land to play. I saw an island in his hand, so it's clear that he does. And he will simply pass the turn back. It's an attack here for 1 with Blight Agent plus an Exalted Trigger, so it'll be 2, just like last turn. Again, Brad says, I'm not engaging. Kazu with a Mutagenic Growth. Perhaps he's making his move.
Now, if this Mutagenic Growth resolves, now it's up to a 4-4. And Negri can be much more aggressive trying to follow up with a Pump Spell because a single Bolt is now taken out of the equation as interaction.
So if Mutagenic Growth resolves, as you mentioned, we can start checking off the boxes, like you mentioned. Electrolyze, Helix, Bolt, no more.
Right.
Path you got to be worried about. Counterspells you got to be worried about. That's probably it, right?
Yeah, the white removal spells, past the most obvious one, there could be some weirdos in the sideboard. That's the primary concern.
Okay.
Especially because those could be cast for 1 mana, so Spell Pierce doesn't necessarily play back.
Got it.
But the red cards are off the table. Brad only has a single red mana, so he doesn't have to play around multiple bolts here. Just the white removal spell.
Ah, okay. Twitter hopping in here. Marshalers for the people at the airport. I like it. That sounds a little more official to me, Twitter. Thank you. I love those that jump in on the conversation. Vines, got to be a counterspell, yeah. This is actually the great time for, obviously, the Spell Pierce that we mentioned.
Well, not with Brad having 2 up.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. That's tough. I thought it might have been I thought it might have been a Logic Knot or something, or a different kind, Negates or something.
Sure. I think Brad might have even had Dispel in the chamber too, so we got a lot going on. A lot of cheap interaction. That's the way you got to do it in this matchup. It's got to be 1 mana. It's got to be 0 mana.
Yep.
Can't be stacked up on 2s and 3s.
Field of Ruin. It's an answer to the Inkmoth Nexus. Nelson will pass the turn back. Kazu will draw. Yeah, I'm with you. It's got to be.
I don't mind that it's picking a spot.
Same.
He has played around a lot of things successfully in that spot. It's just Path. Path's going to be really good regardless.
You're just kind of hoping your opponent doesn't have it, right?
Right.
Looks like we're going to go to Field of Ruin. Target Inkmoth. Got it. See, Brad's plan here against Kazu, it makes a lot of sense. I'm just slowly trying to whittle away your infect threats.
It's got a finite number of cards that matter.
Yep.
And as long as you can take a shot here or there without ever exposing yourself to a lethal attack, take a lump here, take a lump there, but pick apart things outside of combat, eventually Negri's just going to run out of relevant cards.
Follow up.
It's like end of your turn Helix. Literally don't care what this trades with. If it trades with a spell, great. And if not, that's and you actually get the Blight Agent, that's fine too.
Yeah, now we might see Brad on tap and try to go for something like an Electrolyze, maybe clean up everything. And you talked about how you want everything to be 1 mana interaction, but if your Electrolyze gets 2 threats for 3 mana, you are thrilled, and Verdict will do just fine as well. We're going back over to Kazu now as Brad has cleaned up all the problems. Verdant Catacombs, and now Nelson is very quickly untapping, and you can feel that he feels that he's in the driver's seat as Kazu will draw a card. Pass the turn back. Over to Nelson. He'll play a Hallowed Fountain tapped. We're going to go back to Negri, but first, sacrifice a fetch land. Pretty well played game here by Brad.
Yep. Had the right card at the right time. He's never taken an unnecessary risk. He's gotten his 2-for-1s. He's never really faced down that threatening of an attack, and now he's just waiting for something to pull ahead.
The other thing, too, that I noticed, just when Brad was accepting the damage from the Blight Agent, you can tell he knows how this matchup goes, which is, yeah, like, I'm not going to interact with you in combat. Bring it on. I'll take my 2 infect. We'll move on.
Yep.
You know? He knows that. He's hoping, Kazu's probably hoping that he doesn't know that, but you also got to remember, Brad's played some infect in his day, too, folks. So, he knows what's going on. And the longer that we do this draw-go type thing, the worse it gets for Kazu.
Kazu's got maybe 10 cards in his deck that matter. Most of Brad's draw steps that aren't lands are an answer to one of those 10 cards.
Yeah. Just gets worse. Brad feeling so good about things that he's going to fire up the Colonnade.
It looked like he almost considered bolting Negri end of turn last turn. So yeah, he's trying to turn it on here a little bit.
You really can't underestimate the way that Celestial Colonnade closes out games.
Especially in the Just Guy builds, because you're backing it up with bolts and helixes and electrolyzes.
Probably only need 2 hits with one.
This deck pivots so fast to being able to close a game out, in contrast to the Azorius builds, which is usually a little bit more cumbersome in terms of closing out the game.
Yeah. Brad will just pass the turn back this turn, which means I think we might have something like a bolt snap bolt coming.
Or just
only 1 red source of mana, so maybe not,
but just not in a major rush here to race once Negri actually has an infect threat.
Sure.
Then it's a lot more dangerous. If Negri doesn't do anything and just says go, I wouldn't even be surprised to see end of turn Cryptic bounce your Nexus. Untap, get a hit in there.
Just to clear it up.
You're in the clear. It's a safe hit.
That would make some sense. I can get behind that.
But I don't think Brad wants to be committing mana like that once, there's some threat of Negri being able to crack back and maybe playing over the top with his handful of cards.
Glistener Elf has arrived. We'll see if this resolves. Nelson again with only 1 source of red mana at this stage of things. And he's going to go 1-1 with Electrolyze, Glistener Elf, and you face Kazu Negri.
I mean, with Negri not having done anything, you got to imagine his hand is full of, it's either counter spells or pump spells.
Cryptic Command.
Trying to get one of the chunkier ones out of his hand first here so he can load up on the cheap stuff when there's actually a fight.
There goes Glistener. Kazu should fall down to 9 from the Electrolyze. And now we go back over to Brad. Field of Ruin. Just another way to take care of the old Inkmoth Nexus, though I don't imagine Brad is short in ways of doing that. That's a windswept heat there for Kazu. He'll pass the turn back, and now Brad is going to see if the coast is clear to maybe try to win this one with a Vendilion Click. The hand here for Kazu is the Distortion Strike, a Might of Old Croja, a land, and a Mutagenic Growth.
All right, so Coast is clear to be able to Field of Ruin the Nexus. You don't have to worry about Vines, and that should pretty much do it.
And Brad is going to go reach in here for Bolt, Colonnade, Field of Ruin, and all that stuff. Brad Nelson going to win this match here over Kazu Negri. 2-0. Jeskai control, just too much for Kazu.